At some point, chances are you're going to want to make your audio material as loud as possible. We're going to take a look at some of the various ways in which we can achieve a respectable volume boost without degrading or destroying our audio material. If I come to Process and choose Volume, you can see we have a very simple plugin that allows us to either cut or boost our volume. Somewhere near the top, as you can see, is 0 dB or 100%. So this is going to neither boost or cut our volume. We can bring the gain right down to -infinity. This will give us silence, and we can turn it up to 20 decibels, which as you can see is equivalent here to 1000%. If I use the arrow key up, as you can see, 1 decibel increase is equating here to 12.2%. 3 decibels is roughly 40%, and 6 decibels is 200%, or basically twice as loud. Come the other way down, and as you can see, -6 decibels is basically 50%, or half the volume. If you're familiar with the way that decibels and relative volumes work, then you'll understand and be familiar with the notion that an increase of 6 decibels is basically making your amplitude twice as loud. Conversely, taking away 6 decibels is making your volume half as loud. So I have my audio material here, which if I use the top of this window as a ruler, I can estimate is somewhere round about -20, -24 at a guess. So I could try and boost, say, by 20 decibels, choose OK, and as you can see, everything is very much louder, and just zooming in at any part you can see I'm getting these little cut-off points here, or my music has clipped. I've increased it too much. If I return to volume, I could try say a 16 decibel boost, and we can see that I still have a little bit of room to play with. So this is one way of working, and it's perfectly valid, but it's not necessarily the easiest or the best, and certainly not the most efficient method of working. If I wanted to turn this audio file up the maximum amount, I have a couple of options. If I come to Process, and rather than choosing Volume, I choose Normalize, you can see I have a new window, again with a volume slider here and a couple of other choices. And the preset here, Maximize Peak Value, I could simply choose this and hit OK. Without any thinking, as you can see, it has turned it up the maximum amount. The difference is, rather than my methodology of using the volume boost, this will not produce any clipping. This will literally take it up to the limit, but not beyond. This works in the same method as the volume. If I click on Scan Levels, you can see it is calculating the peak is at -18 decibels, and so therefore this knows now it has 18 decibels of headroom that it can turn it up by. If I was to come to volume and increase this up to 18 decibels, I would have the same effect as choosing this methodology here. But rather than going through all the effort of scanning, cancelling, going to volume, I can simply just choose OK. I don't even need to scan the levels if I don't want to. So we can choose to normalize to our peak level. What this means is it will scan the file, it will look for the loudest peak in either a positive or negative value, and then it will increase everything relative to that amount. So everything is increased by, in this instance, 18 decibels. This means that your dynamic range is not being affected, your quiet parts become louder, your loud parts become louder. Everything is treated equally and fairly. The alternative is average RMS. If I scan the levels again, you can see the RMS value is now indicated. Under just peak it is ignored, under average it is created here. So we can see we have a difference in levels here. This is effectively going to look at the average amplitude and then turn it up relative to that. If you're going to choose your average RMS, do not come above -6 decibels. As you can see here, it gives you an indication, very loud. If you do turn this up above -6, then you can almost guarantee yourself that you're going to get clipping or digital overs. So using average RMS, -6 is the maximum value you can choose. As you can see here, you have the options of if clipping occurs and what to do with this. However, this will change the whole dynamics of your audio file. As you can see, this looks different than the previous normalizing example. It is almost constantly at maximum amplitude. Compare this to the RMS methodology. You can see that I have all my peaks being maintained, and so my music or audio file is being maintained carefully. Which one you're going to want to use is going to vary on your situations. There's certainly a place and a time for using RMS normalization. So methodology 1 is the volume, and that's the manual way of doing it. Methodology 2 is normalize. That's the automatic control of the manual.